Okay, great. But to start with, we also had the driver deadlines, or I guess just deadlines in general, that I wanted to bring up here and have a face-to-face discussion about when those are. Ben had sent out a mailing list post about his opinions on having the driver deadlines, and I think, you know, we've done different deadlines in the past trying to make things better. We could probably still work on that. I don't know if what we have right now is the best. I think it definitely has improved some aspects, but wanted to get input, feedback, ideas on any other changes that we should think about making for our deadlines, and see if we want to change it for this release, or at least get the discussion going for future releases. So as it is right now, I'm sticking with what we've had in the past of having driver deadlines in the first milestone. I guess I'll open it up there, and does anyone feel strongly about that being an issue?
I would really rather focus on open stuff in M1 and do guide in M2 when we'll be stabilising bug fixing that, rather than travelling, because otherwise we're going to be late in M2 and we lose all that buggies.
That's kind of what bothered me in the last release. So the background history, we made the first milestone the deadline for drivers to get that distraction out of the way. So it does seem like, to me, like we want to get some of that more critical stuff in right away. But do people think that is going to be a distraction to have the deadline reviews going out over that longer period?
Well, I'd say just -2 of them, too. Don't even look at those.
Don't even.
We'll do them in one time and get you moving.
I think that's a bit extreme.
I don't want to discourage reviews of the drivers, because, you know, if someone wants to spend time on that, I just
Okay.
So I think the two sides. So for our own perspective, so like we have a driver that has dependency on Nova. So if the driver was not merged by the first milestone, I don't see that it can even make it into Nova. So I know that definitely that benefited us last time. But I also have to say that because there's so many drivers, right? So we did spend a lot of time just to try to, focusing on that. So at least for the first milestone, definitely it will take some time away for me to review the other core features. So there's some trade-off there. I'm just saying. So I don't know what's the better way to change that.
With that, I'm not going to look at driving in one if I was better. I think that's far more important. And I would hope other calls have similar opinions.
Has anybody suggested we just drop this one arbitrary milestone altogether?
Actually, it would be okay with that. I don't like the idea of mentioning driving last minute.
Does that impact Cinder? Well, it does. I guess that's my thing is.
So let me clarify, right? So last minute is kind of a blanket term. Depends on what you mean by last minute. I certainly would not propose that new features and drivers are merged in, the third milestone, halfway through the third milestone. What I'm saying is, in my opinion, this whole thing that we've created kind of a mess with these arbitrary first release, like the first milestone is specifically for this, the second is for that, the third is for this, blah, blah, blah. I think maybe we could be a little more sane and use our own judgment. And the reality is, make it clear too, that we're not making any guarantees that your code is going to merge, because there's also this false impression that people have now that as long as they submit it by this date, that it's going to merge. That's not true either. So
we turn it into a negative statement and say your drive is unlikely to be merged unless it's submitted by M2. Is that a more helpful statement?
I think we can, but I don't care about that stuff. If you want to say that, that's fine.
You can say that till the cows come home, but we'll still get drivers that are submitted 2 weeks before M3.
So we should still have
which is where we started the whole process. process, right?
We should still have at least a submission deadline, like for the driver, have a submission deadline at least.
I think that's probably like a blueprint submission deadline.
Just blueprint or not even code?
Oh,
For the driver,
even
at least for code.
Even a work in
Because the
progress
blueprint
code.
I think
What
that-
the
I think
blueprint for
that's-
driver is just like one line.
Yeah,
What's
I think that's fine. I don't necessarily disagree with that. The only thing that I've kind of disagreed with is having this big list that I have to try and figure out what each date means, what I can and can't do, and then the whole thing of, oh, you have to sign up for reviews on these things. These are the things that you can review. These are the things you can't. I mean, that just to me is like, that's so. If we want to say, look, the third milestone is not for drivers or teachers. That's fine. Just simple, right? I mean, I think we can achieve the initial intent that we had without making it a bureaucratic nightmare.
Yeah.
Right?
But yeah, there is a side where if a new driver comes in or a new driver from a different company, which one do you? I mean, if there is like if there's two new drivers that go on the same day and one of them can make it, how do you pick which one can make it if there are no deadlines?
Honestly, I don't really care.
I'm just saying where if there's a deadline, there's at least hope that hey, if I get this in by time, I have at least have a chance of reviewers looking at it and reviewing it.
Just get it in early. I mean,
Well, I guess well, wait. I'm sorry. I don't understand how that relates to what you said. If you have two that show up.
Well, I'm making, if there's a date and it's in one, and one for some reason doesn't get reviewed in time because there's too many to review, then there's like exceptions where, yeah, we'll look at it, they have it in by this date. We'll look at it in two, and if you just say, well, we're not gonna have any date, and if a core reviews your driver, great, but your driver can sit there for 2 releases and not get reviewed and not planned.
Open to OpenStack, baby.
That's I mean, I'm just saying,
I mean, setting the date solves some problems in core studies, definitely, including taking the fun out of things. We got very bureaucratic, and I certainly wasn't a fan of the hard limits and the no, you can't review that actually interests you. But keeping guidance on it and saying, your driver should be submitted by M1 and probably won't get reviewed if it's submitted after M2.
I think that's fair.
Is probably good enough. Maybe just keep a little bit fuzzy on it. Good.
Yeah. But human.
No.
I mean, but
The other thing is, there are a couple of drivers that came in that are 300 lives, just really simple, really nice code.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, I'd approve that now, personally.
So Jay, did you have something?
No, what were you gonna say?
Well, I mean, the problem is you don't care, but there are probably people who have their drivers and their managers who are pushing on this shit, and there needs to be specific deadlines on it. And if you don't like bureaucracy of it, you don't have to deal with that. You don't have to go through those reviews. But I think that it is safer for Cinder to have the stuff documented and followed for those reasons.
So let's be clear. So back up and actually listen to what I said. Because I never said there should be no deadline at all, right? What would you,
Bend it.
let me finish speaking. So what I did say was, yes, I agree. You should not merge drivers and things like that during the RC phase. Not with the third milestone and things like that. So what I said is, don't set 20 different arbitrary deadlines and dates that we all have to track and manage and figure out blah, blah. Pick a date, call it feature freeze, driver freeze, new code freeze, whatever the hell you want to call it. Pick that one date and use one date.
Do you propose feature freeze and driver freeze in one day? Or?
Sure, why not?
We don't have.
It means milestone 3.
We had at least half a dozen different dates minimum. But that's okay. So I mean, I have my opinion, and other people have theirs. So that's fine.
We did have several dates. Some of them were related to when blueprints needed to be filed by. some dates of when cinder specs needed to be landed by an approval deadline.
Yeah,
So,
there were several.
Those were chafing for me.
and so my main objective that I had, which is why I wanted to talk about this, was to figure this stuff out beforehand. So we knew what the stuff was instead of making changes on the fly as it is.
Yeah.
So-
I think that's good. Yeah, I agree.
Regardless of whether we decide M1 is a driver deadline or not, I don't really care, to be honest with you. As long as we know what they are up front, and the community knows about what they are up front, and so does everyone else.
Personally, I mean, as a review team, we need something to push us to deal with. Because I mean, the driver reviews get pushed by the wayside because they're painful, and if we don't have a deadline, then we need to get that done by. I think we're going to accidentally end up screwing vendors and getting into fights that we don't want to.
So that's fine. I mean, that's a different argument than, I guess, what I was trying to get across. Sorry.
So what's your proposal?
I think we still need to have a deadline of when the code is submitted and when it has to be reviewed for the drivers. That is not as important to me, whether it's M1 or M2.
Okay, so here's the good thing. Here's the good news. We're not disagreeing on that. There should be a deadline.
So,
agree with that too.
so in my opinion, pushing to M1, the reason for M1 or milestone 1 was to get that distraction out of the way, but it also was a huge distraction of being able to focus on things like replication or new specs because everyone was looking at the drivers. We need to balance the two. I think I'd be fine moving it out to milestone 2. And people want to review it and get it merged, great. But to have a deadline to communicate up to vendors and project managers, we probably should still set a firm date.
Yeah.
So milestone 2.
So Nova does feature freezes, which is aligned with their specs and when they need to land and all that too.
And that's actually what I had in mind, right? Because
I really like
that's how
that.
we used to do it as well. We used to have feature freezing. Feature drivers are a feature. And so it fell into that same category. I like that way of doing it. Plus it gives you variety over the cycle. But if there's a desire to have it in different places, then that's cool too.
What about submission deadline? Do you have a submission deadline for your driver?
No.
Only
If you have a hard deadline to put the spec.
Yeah, if you
driver,
sub,
but still, but if you have to have your driver land by M2, then
yeah, if you
need to
submit your
have your
driver
stuff
2
in
days
place.
before,
you can't do that and get CI up and running and voting and passing a day beforehand. And if you're doing that, then you're stupid, right? You haven't given the community a chance to actually be aware that your driver is actually out there. And
I think it's
get eyes looking
just
and
help
passes
people.
done.
I mean, it's not like, we all know the earlier you submit it, the better chance to get that. It's
Well,
just
that
easier
goes
for
with
it.
anything, not just drivers. Right?
So I think Sven, the like code up for review and passing the CI requirement date was that ones that met that got reviewed prior, the other ones. And is that something we found helpful? Like you said, it sort of made the implication that if you made that deadline, you would be reviewed.
I think we see it makes an exception after the deadline.
Yeah.
Because they had put their stuff in beforehand and they were passing CI and they were active and all, which I think.
and really, yeah, if milestone 2 passed and there's a vendor that's actively working on it and really trying to get it done and participating, then
I'd
probably
all
be
for it.
flexible. Yeah.
So maybe instead of saying that we have a deadline to put it up, we have a date where it's like, if you get it there, you're eligible to get an exception, right? Sort of like a recommendation.
Yeah, I almost don't like advertising that, but
Well,
yeah.
I mean,
But no, in reality, that's what it is.
right. Yeah.
So can we just move it from that one to 2 and then join that with
Yeah, unless there's any here from anybody, that's kind of where I was leaning.
Jake,
It's
does that
just
work?
submitted, Yama. I mean, you can get it submitted.
Yeah, and yeah, people looking at home, if you're if you're submitting a driver, yeah, definitely get it in now. But
Obviously recommend the earlier the better, because if you get something in at the last week, possibility won't get you.
Kind
Yeah.
of that it's going to distract the feature. It's going to distract the feature.
And then you get into time.
yeah,
This time or this time.
Okay, so this is only for driver, but the other things.
Are we okay with time spec
Yeah.
M2, landing feature freezing
M
M2?
spec
Or
merged by
are we
M2.
landing features all the way up to M3?
If you need a spec reviewed and you do it in M3, it's not, there's not a lot of time for that. I mean, it takes a while to get the spec.
It depends what your feature is. I mean, I don't like the hard limit on that because we have very small things people want to land, and we don't know, we don't expect that. It's a very small, reasonably good thing, and we would say no to them. So the complete lack of discretion is what kind of bothered me. Hard nose, kind of.
well, I don't want to resolve all of this here. We actually have two subjects for this time slot. I just wanted to get some feedback, at least on the driver deadline. So I'll put something together and make sure everyone's okay with that. The other topic we had was the ABC driver inheritance. Did you? We can switch to that now. Kurt, did you want to? Or well, keep doing that. Do you want to stop the recording and redo it, or just get the whole session? Okay. All right. John, did you have anything to show, or just discussion?
I don't have anything to show.
Okay.
So I guess I would, rather than waste time, or I'll just ask, is anybody even interested in this? Because if I'm the only one that has issues and is interested in it, I won't waste my time.
I agree, John.
I think it's worth talking about. Something we're talking about at least the issue.
Okay. All right.
I think we have a lot of cleanup that we should do in our inheritance model.
I think it's
So, so my proposal is really simple. Go back to having still use abstract-based classes, obviously. Yes, I put a patch in as a alternative proposal, and yes, I forgot to put the decorate class. Sorry, but my proposal would be go back to just having one class that is the abstract-based class that has all the methods in it, and be done. Rather than have a class for each. So an example, I was working with folks from Fujitsu on some stuff this morning, and I thought, well, I'll just go to the driver and just show them what they need to implement. Yeah, it didn't go, right? You can't do that anymore because there are so many different classes and ABCs and things like that that you can't just use the driver PY file to figure out what you need to implement. And I'd like to for us to all work on that.
We kind of have our core functionality. Not to get into the conversation about support matrix again, but there is that base feature set, at least the minimum requirements. I think some of that kind of got broken up, but I'd like to see that in the base driver, or the base interface.
I agree.
And at least have some separate ones for these optional pieces.
Yeah.
And have the expectation that we'll work towards at least some of those, getting those to be pulled into the core base cinder driver.
You know, the other option, quite frankly, is you can make everything ABC, one class, all methods ABC, and put a tag on the ones that are not required. And drivers, they will and determine based on the tag whether it actually has to do anything.
I guess that does make it explicit that they kind of need to mark, yes, we are not doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's valuable or not.
So the two things here is the idea that all of the mandatory functionality will be in the base class. The idea when we sell, the thing is we found a bunch of drivers did not implement what we call mandatory functionality. So one of the reasons there are certainly is that some of the things we thought were mandatory are you can build movement plan by fixing up the drivers that don't implement.
And I think the last one is the one you've been working on, right? That was the only driver that didn't meet the minimum feature set.
Yeah. So I get rid of the snapshots.
No. With the one in the first.
Yeah. Okay. So snapshots, for example, wasn't in the base class because it wasn't implemented everywhere. And so one of the reasons that ABC patch broke it out was to highlight in the code. A couple of the methods, like the clone image method, that I think maybe Steph was implementing for a while, they're in ABC because they're optional. It might be more readable to blow those out, so we'd end up with just basically a base class. Once we fix the drivers, we'd end up with maybe a base class of and a CG one at the moment. But they were put out because they really weren't universally implemented. So the idea of the class hierarchy is to represent exactly what state our code is in, rather than lying to ourselves.
So for those, should we just move it inside that abstract class, but just to say those are not required? So those shouldn't be, because new APIs should not be abstract. I mean, no, I'm just saying that if you talk about the CG ones, initially we had 4. That's how we started. So those 4 are in that abstract class.
Yeah.
But then the new ones are not, because not everyone has implemented it. So, but we should still add those interfaces in that class so that if a driver implements those and inherit from those abstract class, but it can really.
So here's 2 things. One is at that point, one of the things that I would like to do is I would like to actually turn driver UI into a template, so that somebody that wants to write a driver can actually use that template, right, and fill it out. The other thing I wanted to point out that I think maybe we kind of forgot, because Duncan, your point about lying to ourselves and blah, 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 there's some truth to that. But keep in mind, when we started all of this, we started it before we required CIs. And now that we require CIs, I'm of the opinion that the Tempest tests and the CI should be the gold standard for what is implemented and what isn't, and not anything else. And even better, if we actually move forward with running functional tests in tree in the super code, we can do all of this stuff through functional tests there. Because I'm of the opinion that's going to be a runner for my CI.
So the other thing I hope that will come out of the ABC work we did, which hasn't really materialized, to take CG as an example where it works on some things, but on others. Responses. If the volume class, the name of the volume class is stored in the volume record, or somehow associated with the volume record, the actual driver class, the name of it, then you can check the ABC to see if CGs are supported and give it a weird thing.
I think there's other ways to do that.
Okay, I'd like to hear it.
Well, we could actually implement an API called it to supported methods. It's not a form.
But how do you implement that on a per volume basis?
We know the host
volume
already.
Per volume uses?
Well, I guess the host on the back end of this.
We know the host.
It goes it's a driver function.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
The driver, and that's a required. I mean, and I don't know. I mean, because I know
that doesn't give you the fast API response, the sensible message from the API, because not before the drawing on every fair data on every
You can cache it.
Yeah, I
an
don't
initialization call, I would think.
understand how it's any different than.
Yeah, the functions of it's changed halfway through.
Yeah, we do the same thing.
Maybe I'm just missing the design.
I mean,
Yeah, I want something to happen in the API service. I want the API service to be able
that's
to.
fine. So what you can do is part of the part of initialization or something like that. You can actually store a record of post it's like capabilities, right? So you can have post implementations or whatever the hell you want to call it, and it would work the same way as what you're proposing.
But I just closed it.
But I don't know, maybe that's not the right answer. I'm just saying, that might be an alternative, it might be a little bit. Fairly common thing in APIs.
And-
Work the methods.
Well, and if we had something like that too, I could see maybe Horizon having
That's interesting.
exposing superior capability. Yeah,
But yeah,
it opens up, and part of breaking up the ABC classes into all these different ones, I thought that might buy us the ability to do some cool things of introspection and seeing what we can do at runtime. But
it actually does. We haven't written it.
yeah,
Port enough to it.
Well, every time we talk about this, we say, hey, this would be cool to do. No one ever does.
but I kind
It's
of
only priority. Yeah.
I kind of like John's proposal now, just
I know what
having it
Eric-
all.
I know what Eric is gonna say, and he's right. No, and he's right, because I keep bringing this up, so who's gonna go work on it if I keep bringing it up? That's why I asked the question. I don't wanna waste anybody's time. So, you guys wanna keep going with ABCs and finish it up? Fine, let's
Can
do it.
I suggest a possible compromise? Go back to almost what we have and just have one, just try the ABC with one idea, save replication. So replication, move everything into one ABC except replication. And a replication capable driver inherits 2, rather than the 7 you've got now. And then see if we can do some of this clever introspection stuff with just the replication stuff and see how it pulls out.
If that's what you guys wanna do.
So we can try and move in the
But
same
eventually,
direction.
just so you know, though, eventually you get back to where we are, right? I mean, you're just moving the needle. You're just.
Yeah, but only, we only split into ABCs when there's a clear gate, rather than the current one, which was to highlight the way the code works. So half your ABCs go, like I only see 3 in the end with our current code, the way I'm talking about. CG's replication and base.
But you're still including pulling in all of the required features into the base class.
Yes.
And then you have one ABC that has the non-required stuff.
Yeah. For each set of non-required stuff. Which was kind of what
I thought that's where we were trying to go already.
Isn't that what we have?
Well, yeah, but Eric pointed out and found that there's a number of cases where things are kind of jacked up. You've been fixing them, Ivan's been working on them.
there's some weirdness as well with things like the NetApp have a, and I'm not being on NetApp because I remember, have a super class for all the drivers.
Yeah.
And so where they put in the ABC stuff, it gets a bit weird.
Or you can be like me and just.
Yeah, exactly. But our driver just inherits from like the SAN and W driver.
There's a bunch of us that are just inherited from the old SAN PY and that's the driver. And we don't use any of that stuff. And quite frankly, I thought maybe I'd go and I'd do some of that. And I looked at it and I. Why would they do this?
I was just
But there's a big chicken and egg. If we don't convert the drivers into inspection workers up, it is useless.
What do you need the introspection so badly?
Yeah.
It's not so badly, there's some nice things you can do with it.
Well, there's nice things I can do with puppies. I don't know. I mean, I guess I just don't see the compelling.
If we add this API call to get capabilities, does it buy us anything then?
Yes, because fast error message. The thing I'd really like is for the API to say you can't do that the instant somebody calls it.
Maybe
I'm not seeing how you do that with the get capabilities.
we should go back to don't implement shit that doesn't work everywhere.
That means ripping out CG's and replication.
Or making it a special module that you have to explicitly load. So the other thing is again, I try to point out, cloud operators aren't all stupid. I mean, if they set up a cloud, they should expose the things that their cloud is capable of doing. I mean, are we the governance safety?
Tenants are fairly dumb, a lot of them. Really.
Tenants are not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is we have policy to enable and disable API calls. We can make some minor modifications to how our policy stuff works today and say, hey, things like CG's replication or whatever, things that are not standard things fall under some policy, whether they're enabled or not, or they have their own policy for each one. By default, they're not enabled.
CG already has that.
Exactly.
But somebody actually changed it and then report a bug saying, oh, CG does not work.
Yeah, I know. So, and the worst part is somebody went in and saw that bug and marked it as high priority and triage. So, I mean, that's on us. That's not on operators are stupid or users are stupid or I want it to fail faster. We're screwing it up, not the users. I mean, so I think that gives you the same thing that you're at. It's actually better than what you're asking for because they never even see the API call to begin with.
Some of those APIs work on one platform. So, yes, that does give you part of what I want.
Well, then write the code and do whatever you like, and I'll review it.
I'm wondering if it's cutting down to 2 CGs, 2 ABCs for now. So it's almost what you're asking for, but just enough of what I'm asking for to be able to demo what I want.
I don't understand how that works, Duncan, because you're saying, right, 2 ABCs, one for the required stuff and one for replication. What do I do with CGs?
CG as well, I think he mentioned. He said CG as well.
Put them in the optional stuff. You have one optional. I don't
What
know
optional stuff?
CGs and replication are definitely optional.
I know, but you said you wanted to.
Okay, maybe it's not the CGs. I'm not 100%. I can't understand this in my head in 5 seconds. But cut down the number of ABCs down to just enough to do a demo rather than 7 or how many we've got.
What I'm saying is
would that give some of the cleanup you want so that we can move drivers to actually using them so that we can try the other things?
So I think there's a couple of options. I don't want to monopolize this conversation. I think there are a couple of options. We continue on and fix up what we have, which is fine. If that's what people want to do, that's totally cool. The other option is we can, and I think this might be where you're going, but I don't think it's coming across right to me for some reason. If you wanted to say, here's a base class and here's optional stuff, you can do that. But the problem is that optional stuff grouping. How do you deal with things? I only support CGs out of the optional stuff, not replication, which is in that same optional ABC class. It blows up when it doesn't work. That's what I'm saying. So it's hard to do a hybrid or a mix of what you're talking about in a sensible way that actually works. The other option is you go back to the other extreme, and the required classes are the only things that are ABCs. Everything else is in just whatever class you want to call it. But then you still have the problem. You have to figure out, how do I report that and enable it? Well, my answer is policy. Right? Because then, even better, I don't have to worry about whether I'm going to get an error or not, because it's never going to show up for me. And that's a beautiful thing. I'd rather have it not show up than have to worry about it giving an error.
Set policies per volume type.
What does volume types have?
Some volume types for PGs and some don't. Like there are lots of people running 2 backends. Set and something decent and something set and something better. Whatever. It's really sort of going to question you're doing, John. You keep jumping up and saying nobody wants to do backends. Yes, they do.
Whoa. Hold on a second. Nobody's jumping up and down saying there's no 2 backends.
Well, you normally put public trade 200 backends. That is something you said.
So that's fine. Then continue with it. Fix it up. We'll move forward.
But we need drivers to actually.
You have access to the code?
Yeah. Okay, so it's not going to be used to me fixing it before that time. Or truck with the patch that needs to do it.
Yeah. All right, so Duncan will put together some code.
Should we look up?
Alright.
That still doesn't solve the original problem that John brought up, though, to be fair, which is being able to show a new vendor that wanted to ride a driver what the hell they need to implement by just looking at driver that time.
I think that would be good.
Weren't we working on a document just for that?
Yeah.
Well,
And obviously, I think we can take on everything while being like this. I think we can actually get some of that.
No, but I mean, we have the sheet. It was pretty awesome, though, if we actually kept it up.
Well, I think the documentation is great.
But as an engineer, how many times have you went to look at the documentation first? Yeah, but no, I'm making drivers out myself. No, I was John. I was going to say making drivers out myself document. Well, that's why I was looking at it. I was like, geez.
I think that there are still some issues with like what we're doing right now. Like just recently, this release we added new consistency that broke some stuff. I think we like added them to the ABC class, but not to the default volume driver that's there for all the drivers who haven't upgraded. Well, and then there's like you couldn't make the new APIs required as part of that ABC class. So we have like the CGs and then now
Part of the limitations of the ABC thing, that it's you have a class that's got ABC stuff, you kind of have to do all of it. Right? And if you add new CG version 2 APIs, you have to basically put a new class until everyone implements it.
Yeah, every time you add a feature, you have another abstract class.
I started putting my head against some of the ABC limitations like that, and I don't really know how to do that in a great way.
However you have it in the code, you have things that are only implemented on these functions. Like being able to go and find them is actually really useful. And I'd like to be able to do it programmatically. And ABC is a way of doing that programmatically.
Yeah, but I mean, it seems like they're not working very well, right? Yeah. So maybe we should look at another way.
So can't you do the API call to the backend and it gives you the capabilities? That would be the logical solution to that.
And it seems like a much cleaner way. You add a new API, the driver doesn't implement it, they don't report that. Everything works exactly what you expect.
Well, there were cases where you want to query this, where it was actually about querying the loaded module, not the API call. And we never really decided how great it would be to do this, but one of the theories with this was that you could, in the volume manager, you could look at the driver and say, does this driver support optimized function X? Call it if it does, if not, do some other thing. We never did enough of this to really decide if we really wanted to do that. That was part of the theory.
Yeah. Theoreticals, I don't think, are really a good reason to not clean it.
Oh, but the whole ABC thing is all about deciding the theoretical shape of it. That's
the trouble with the ABC is we only went a very small fraction of the way we had to go. The drive we didn't get on the road implementing them.
I think we went too far with it.
Yes.
I think there was a first step that we could have done where the required things go in the ABC class, and that's it. I think the mistake we made was we went too far.
Well, I think most of us were actually surprised at how many things were universally implemented, because whenever we started this, I think we thought we were going to.
No, I think you're right. I don't disagree.
And actually, there is a patch that's been sitting there for a while that removes one of the category that we really need to land just to kick one off.
So we started talking about like theoretical stuff we can do with ABCs, but like if I understood correctly the conversation earlier, the only reason that the only opposition to John's rules is that we want to be able to fail fast when something.
So,
right?
So
that's one of the issues.
There's very different areas that people work with things and get benefits. I mean, part of my interest in it is just like code integrity. That has nothing to do with API calls and how the certain things are done.
Realize the fail fast thing doesn't really work.
Assuming it does,
Yeah.
I think there's other ways we can solve that, right? Like, I don't think ABC classes, messing, like, make the inheritance model, and that's more complicated. Harder for drivers, bugs when we add new driver methods. I mean, shit, we're gonna have a micro version of driver API.
Yeah. So I totally agree that we have not figured out how to do it right.
So maybe until we figure out that tool, right, we should back out.
Let's back out and clean it up. Yes.
Or backing out all the way to just having one.
Yeah, that's what I think. I don't think.
So what you're going to have, I think we should build on one. You're going to have a bunch of unimplemented methods, and catch method not implemented all over the shop.
Well, that's the thing, that's what we do now.
Yeah, I think a lot of that code is being ugly, and we go away if we got ABC class instead.
I don't, actually, it doesn't feel weird. You still have it. Because that's what the ABC class does.
That's what the ABC does. Yeah.
It's just you go to the earlier, not at the point where you actually calling the manager.
You can do is it
No, it doesn't.
It only does it if you
try and call the function.
Yeah, what you're talking about, it only does it if you load the module and you inherit from that class and didn't implement it. That just catches programming errors. That doesn't catch, hey, I've got this driver and I tried to call this method and it doesn't support it. There's still a whole other step that needs to be taken to get to where you want to go. That's what I was trying to do.
That's the is this driver a
right? Is it an XYZ?
Yeah. In some places, I think we can do that much earlier.
Well, and what I'm saying is why are we making everything such a pain in the ass to do this instead of just saying, hey, let's just store a record of what the driver supports, and in the API before we call the driver to check and see if it supports it, we're done. Just put a fucking decorator on the calls. I don't give a shit. Well, it's Python, and start with.
The problem is there's too many layers through the scheduler volume service. Because I actually am kind of confused about how you.
So I guess I don't understand. I guess so, and this happens with me a lot. So I apologize.
Well, because to do it, you have to issue a call that's going to go through the scheduler, hit the volume service, and then go back to the API, all of the synchronous API call.
But I wouldn't. Well, so I wouldn't do that every time. So I would put it in memory and use a cache for that information because it's not going to change. And what I'm saying is, regardless, even if you use the ABC method to do that, you would still have the same problem. I don't understand how you're magically going to have this data and just know it, right? You still have to acquire it and keep it and store it and check it somewhere.
You keep the class. As long as you still want class for each volume, which I did say at the very beginning, you have to add fields to that volume table. As long as you know the class, you can identify them. That's what ABC gives you.
That's fine. I promise I will not bring this up again. I will let it go.
That's the time for
Yeah, we're